As the violence continued, one of the president's sons texted Mr. Meadows, quote, "He's got to condemn this ASAP." Donald Trump Jr. texted again and again, urging action by the president. Quote, "We need an Oval Office address. He has to lead now. It has gone too far and gotten out of hand."
That's Congresswoman Liz Cheney reading text messages from Donald Trump Jr. to Chief of Staff Mark Meadows written during the January 6th Capitol insurrection. It's part of a mounting body of evidence uncovered by the committee. Joining us now, the only other Republican serving on the January 6th committee, Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, thank you for joining us. I want to ask you, those text messages were really unbelievably damning, and they were all turned over voluntarily by Mark Meadows before he decided to stop his cooperation with the committee. First of all, why do you think he turned him over? And do you think he had any idea how damaging all that stuff was? Did he know what he was giving you?
Well, first off, I think he turned him over because he knew he had to. It is the legal purview of the committee to request this, which is why we held him in contempt when he decided halfway into his cooperating that he wasn't going to cooperate. And not even on the non-privileged stuff. Like now he can go out and maybe try to be a hero or whatever. And I'm not sure if he knew how damaging they were going to be, but it doesn't matter because he didn't have a choice. We have that legal authority to get that. And I think the interesting thing, Jonathan, about all of those texts, and you know, each one of them has their own kind of flavor of importance, but a lot of these texts were about a year ago. Some even, you know, a little longer than a year ago. What has changed? I'll tell you what's changed since those texts were sent 1 year ago. Probably a significant amount more people believe that Antifa or the FBI had something to do with January 6th. It's been a year and we haven't had any real, in essence, detailed accountability for what led to that, and that's what the committee's focused on getting. Otherwise, the history books, who knows what they're going to say, because who knows who's going to control the narrative. We just want the truth.
There are also text messages, and I assume you have more, but the text messages that you released from your colleagues, from your Republican colleagues on January 6th, and as you said, before January 6th, that look pretty damning. Do you think that some of your Republican colleagues bear direct responsibility for that riot?
It's possible. I'm not ready to kind of go to that point yet because I want to let the facts dictate it. But I will tell you, yes, there are more texts out there that we haven't released where it's, you know, folks not saying things like, hey, Mark Meadows, why don't you make sure all the votes are counted and then whoever has the most wins. It's going around the nuances of the law. Or it's saying, here's how we can use this technicality to win. And I think that's why we have to look at the Electoral Count Act and say, look, if there's people that know the technicality of this and how to win against the will of the people, something is wrong that we have to change on that. But we're gonna pursue doggedly everything to the ends of the earth, and that includes, and we don't like necessarily having to go here, but that includes members of Congress that had any involvement.
Yeah, so let me ask you about that. I know no decision on this has been made, so I'm asking your opinion to be clear. Do you think your colleagues, some of your colleagues, should be subpoenaed, if they won't do it voluntarily, should be subpoenaed to testify before the committee?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I don't, the question is House rules and speech and debate, you know, all those nuances. But yes, I think if you had anything to do with what happened on January 6th, and I think more importantly, even than January 6th, is the events and the nuances that led to January 6th. Right. Because January 6th was a really bad day. Everything prior to that is the rot in the democracy or the rot in self-governance that we have to correct so we don't get another January 6th. So absolutely, anybody, nobody, member of Congress, former president, nobody in America is above the law.
So a subpoena for former President Trump. Again, I know the committee hasn't made a decision, but you think that should happen?
Here's how I'll say, if we need it, yes. Nobody should be above the law, but we also recognize we can get the information without him at this point. And obviously, when you subpoena the former president, that comes with a whole kind of, you know, circus environment. But if we need him, we'll do it.
Right. It gives him a big platform, to be sure. I want to play something else that Liz Cheney said about the importance of Meadows testifying. Take a listen.
And Mr. Meadows' testimony will bear on another key question before this committee. Did Donald Trump, through action or inaction, corruptly seek to obstruct or impede Congress's official proceedings to count electoral votes?
Okay, so I know Congress doesn't have the power to prosecute. That's the Justice Department. But what Congresswoman Cheney just described there is a crime under the U.S. Criminal Code. It is a crime to obstruct the official proceedings of Congress. Is she there sending a message, and are you sending a message, that the Justice Department should be prosecuting not just those that broke into the building on January 6th, but should be prosecuting Donald Trump himself, or at least investigating that possibility?
I think investigating that possibility for sure. You know, Congress has, I think in this case, our committee is getting more information than law enforcement agencies and DOJ because we've had the power and the ability to get that done. And so whatever information we get will be public record, and the DOJ should take a look, particularly if there's criminal charges to be filed. Because again, the big thing is, as bad as it was on January 6th, there's really nothing in place to stop another one from happening again. And if somebody broke the law, it is so essential that we send the message that you are not untouchable as president, you're not untouchable as a former president, so just go and do your job honorably. And I think that's the only way that self-governance survives into the future.
It was interesting to hear Senator McConnell this week. He obviously opposed the creation of an independent commission to investigate all of this, but he seems to be, I mean, almost cheering on the committee, at least by the way McConnell speaks. Take a listen to what he had to say about the committee's work.
We're all going to be watching it. It was a horrendous event, and I think that what they're seeking to find out is something the public needs to know.
That's not exactly what Kevin McCarthy, the leader over there in the House, is saying.
Right. Look, I mean, I got to tell you, so, you know, say what you want about Mitch McConnell. He obviously holds his cards very close. I think that was a very powerful statement, and I appreciate it. Kevin McCarthy, on the other hand, has not said a word about anything, except for that Donald Trump is probably the greatest president to ever exist. And Kevin McCarthy himself, I think, made Donald Trump relevant again when 2 weeks after January 6th or so, he went back down to Mar-a-Lago and brought him back to political life by putting his arm around him, taking that picture, and basically sending a signal to the rest of the Republicans that were pretty quiet at this moment that we got to get back on the Trump train. And he bears responsibility for that. I don't think history books are going to be kind to him.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but one more question. You won a big decision, the committee did, the appeals court, D.C. Circuit, on that executive privilege case to get all those White House documents that are housed at the National Archives. The committee, the court gave Trump 14 days to appeal. That 14th day, I think, is Christmas Eve. Do you expect that the Supreme Court is going to take that up? And do you think you are going to get those documents?
I think it's possible that the Supreme Court could pick it up because it's so important, but I hope for an expedited ruling, and I do believe we'll see that documentation. It's the American people's documents. It's not Donald Trump's, and the court's made that very clear.
How important are they, those documents?
I think they're going to be really important. I think we're getting information regardless if we don't get them, but obviously that's going to be important. There's a lot of visitors' logs, et cetera, that we need to see.
Okay, Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, member of the January 6th committee, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Of course, thank you. You bet.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.